What's up, Thrallers? Miller.
Jammin Jon.
And we are here with a special for the Denver Death Fest, kind of like a Thrall's Roundtable of sorts, interview-esque kind of bullshit. You know, we don't do typical interviews, but we are with the mighty Dallas Toler-Wade. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're all right. It's been a long week. Actually, I'm just getting over my 15th cold of the season, so I'm doing better than I was personally.
Yeah, how is this season change treating you?
Well, I've been spending a lot of time up north, so it's mostly just been snow.
Yeah, fairly.
I'm gonna head back. I'm gonna head back down south in maybe a week or two, and cut the grass and indulge in the pollen.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
and the barbecue too.
For the time being, I've just been kind of freezing my ass off and getting some practice time in.
Where are you up north?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, right on. We're in Ohio.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, right on. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we were like, it was for whatever reason, like Toledo was just right below that, like freezing, or you guys were up above the freeze line. We just got a torrential amount of rain, and it sucked. But yeah,
did any of you guys travel Interstate 75 during, say, the holiday season last year?
All the time.
Oh yeah, all the time.
I drove semi-truck for a while. I did 75 from here to Pontiac every day, like multiple times a day. So.
Right on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really rough. We saw, we decided to leave a day late because there was literally the day before on 75 North, a 100-car pileup.
Yep.
Like, it was really bad. It was like a lot of snow, but also like really high winds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
there was
I remember
tractor trailers that had gone across the median into the other side, and I saw all kinds of shit. I was like, oh my God.
Yep. Welcome to the north.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty up there, especially like 94. If you travel 94 up that way through Hamtramck and stuff, I don't know, the people over there they just don't care. That's where I always hated driving through, because it was just 110, 115 miles an hour going around you, zero shits given, and I guess it's a little nervous to drive in a big ass semi, I actually care.
Oh, totally.
Around me.
And man, I've driven this damn country several times over the years, and
sure.
I'd imagine.
Man, it's like turn signals.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Use the son of a bitch, please.
Yeah, you think they have them in all cars, from the early vehicles into the modern ones. You'd think it was a feature.
Except BMWs, they don't have them in BMW. Anyways,
yeah, evidently not.
Don't get me on my road rage binge.
Sure,
Anyways,
sure.
Oh, we could just do a half hour on that.
I'm
full.
Oh
of
God, no, I got more than that.
I spent on the road, stories I got, accidents I've seen, some not so pleasant to think about, but yeah, man, I can imagine you've done millions of miles over the years. It's insane to even ponder, because you've been doing it for. How many years?
A very long time.
25? More than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the early days, before, the whole Nile extravaganza for about 18 years.
Yeah.
So it was already probably about 5 or 6 years before that. I got started kind of early. But that was most regionally stuff, and back then, it was a little bit different. You just kind of you would meet another band and kind of just trade shows. Hey, we have a show in Wilmington, and we can get you a show in Fayetteville. And we go down and open for you guys, or you can come here or whatever, you know what I mean? And that was just one example. There was a lot of that with Raleigh and a couple other things, and a few things down in Florida back in the day, and
sure.
Up in New York and stuff like that. Just kind of regional and trying to get out there when you can.
As much as you can while paying the bills and
right.
Oh yeah, doing what you got to do.
Definitely in the early, it's definitely a juggle. Definitely a juggle.
Yeah, I mean, and it still always is, no matter what. I mean, even if you are doing a little something.
Well, tour costs have gone up through the roof, like gas and lodging, and just the whole logistics side of it and transportation side of it. has gone through the roof, which makes traveling and making money as a band and everything really hard, because a lot of people don't realize, like, bands rely on the shows, the live shows, the merchandise sales, the CD sales, the the personal connection sales, rather than the streaming and stuff like that. And now it's like it's getting to that point where it's hard for a lot of even established people. Dino had brought that up in an interview recently with touring costs, about how they were going to have to probably scale back. So
yeah, I kind of I don't know, even back in the day, I kind of knew what I was getting into. And even just because death metal, because of that, I mean, it's kind of always been a little bit of a struggle anyways, and
true,
you just got to stay true to your guns and play from your fucking heart, man, and fuck the shit, and just do what you can while you can, when you can. I mean, we're all in the same boat on that,
right? Yeah, right.
I think really, for me, it's always been really good to have some other skills that you can do that makes decent money. It doesn't have to be in the musical field, have a few things that you can do whenever. And, if you're good at it, then, you're always going to have money coming in.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, that was going to be one of my questions, was outside of guitar playing and bands and death metal, do you have a hobby? Anything you like to do outside of slaying faces on stage?
I like to read and watch a lot of stuff about murder. And on the weekends, usually like maybe if I'm home like Saturday or Sunday morning or something like that, I like to play some video games. And that's about it. I got a pretty cool collection dating back from the first NES. A lot of stuff that I saved. I have a Frank Nintendo that I built out of parts.
Oh, wow.
And I have a couple of other ones too. I have a little bit of a game collection, a little bit of a book collection, and DVD collection. So on my downtime, I might indulge into some of that. Other than that, especially when I know I've got shows coming up. So this week, Monday through Thursday, I'll be hitting the old set list.
Right on.
Yeah. So when we show up to rehearse, we're actually going to rehearse at Joe's house.
Cool.
In Colorado. And,
nice.
And we're just going to go in there and rip. But, we all show up, just have done our homework. You know what I mean? So it makes things pretty easy. And, I love playing the songs, even though I'm still just writing stuff. I mean, the album's done, the new album's done, but I'm still just writing stuff. But just it's always good to punish yourself. I do what I call the long set list, which was everything the band has ever played live plus the new songs.
Nice.
And so that runs about 2 hours.
That's a good workout, man.
And it's fun, and if I do that like 2 or 3 times a week, then I'm ready for just about anything. Can show up and rehearse with the guys for a couple of days and we'll be ready, because everybody's kind of on that like level of discipline.
Sure.
And
yeah, it's certainly not like 17, 18 showing up half cocked to practice and not knowing what the hell's going on. It's a little different when you get older, thankfully.
I will put an iron bird in your fucking throat. I'm just joking. Anyways, no.
So to prepare, when you guys are thinking about like a set list or anything, do you have like you go over? So let's say your set list, you wanted to play these 12 songs, these 14 songs. Do you learn like 18 to 20 to kind of see if maybe someone in the crowd will say this one, or do you try and work crowd stuff in, or you pretty much set list?
Well, the set list is kind of a template. We like to have everything ready that we've either played in the past. We did introduce a couple of new songs that had never been played live last year, but we're going to play the new songs, but it's good to have sort of a template of a set list, but then kind of leave room for a little bit of spontaneity. I mean,
sure.
Nice.
Sure.
I spent a long time just playing the same fucking set list for years, and I just don't want to do that,
Sure. I remember.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, actually.
Yeah, I remember some odd years ago, I went and saw the band Byzantine. I don't know if you remember those guys. They were West Virginia kind of metalcore. But anyway, they played a set here in town, and I remember no one knew who they were. I knew who they were, but nobody in the crowd seemed to know who they were. And I remember they said, "Does anybody want to hear any songs?" And I shouted out the song I want to hear, and they were like, "Oh no, we're not gonna play that." I was like, "What the fuck?" So, yeah.
I can understand though, from a musician standpoint, there's songs that maybe are really obscure, B-side stuff like that may have been years past for some of them, and it's just a really hard stretch. Hell, some of the stuff I wrote, I have to go back and listen to my recordings and see what I was playing.
Well, they were touring on their first album.
But, oh,
well,
there's no excuse for that.
So we had a similar situation with a song from Delirium Tremens. It was called "You Will Die Alone," and it was one of the first songs that I had written for that album. I thought it was a pretty cool album or song, and but at the time I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty cool." Sometimes I'm in the mood for it. Feels kind of like a B-side to me. Whatever, fuck it.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on there, and Ed put a blistering lead on it, and there it was. And but people started asking for that song, and the musicians in the band wanted to play the song, and so we included it on the set list last year, and it actually gets movement in the crowd and shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great, and that's what you aspire.
So it's like, whoa, okay,
yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome.
Actually, I was just jamming that record upstairs. That album whoops ass, by the way.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, when you're writing ideas and stuff, do you is it something where you go into and you just hit record and then you sit down and do your thing, or do you do your thing and kind of get an idea, pick about it a little bit, and then record a little demo piece, and then maybe revisit it, or do you stick to that idea and carry it through? Because I know there's some people like me who do little parts and then come back to it with a fresh eye or whatever. How do you approach the writing? Do you just hit record and go for it, or do you have an idea and then record?
Yeah, all of those actually. I mean, sometimes I'm just practicing or whatever, and I get an idea and I just record it really quickly. And then there's some other times where I'm just kind of singing a melody in my head or something like that. And I'll just continue to sing it so I don't forget it. And then, when I get home, or, if I'm away from an instrument, then maybe or if I get the idea and I can pick up the guitar or something, then that might help too. Mm-hmm. And then there's also just stuff that you write down, and, you decide to vent on paper for 23 hours and then end up cropping something down. All of those work. We've seen it, with a lot of artists. I mean,
sure,
you can learn a lot about music and music theory and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think all that stuff is really good, but at the end of the day, as long as you're thinking about what you want to do, that it will definitely translate into the big picture of, the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with that. I do a lot of, the voice recorder, like you said, an idea, you get it, you hum it, you got a melody patterns, rhythm patterns a lot for me. Right into my phone, and there we go. And we got it. Now I can go back to it and go, oh, that was the guitar. Something like that. So yeah, I'm in the mindset of multiple ways of learning, but I came across a few cats that are very, very disciplined in how they do stuff. And for them, it works, whatever you find your niche and your little avenue of what works for you, then do it. But, I like the approach that you said, just kind of any and everything. And remember to get the idea down at some point.
Yeah, that's it too, because especially as we get a little older,
Sure.
I'll look back at my phone and be like, "Oh man, that's great." I don't remember that night at all, for whatever reason. What the hell was I doing? Was I drinking?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say, some of those mornings you wake up though and listen, you're like, "Whoa, dude, that's not good. We're just gonna."
What were we doing? Oh my God, delete.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a couple of those just like, "Oh, that's that riff is not appearing on this album."
Yeah, that riff was awesome. Yeah, when you're on shrooms, it is.
Right. They're gonna fire me now. Oh shit.
That's great. That's great. It's fucking terrible. Yeah.
So you're into learning about murders, and you said you write or you read about murders and stuff like that. Is there a certain like serial killer you're kind of like? Because with me, it was always Manson and just his ability. Not that I like. They're awful people, but for me, I know.
I think that's really the fascination, is just like, how can a human being get themselves to go through these acts? They are disconnected in a way that I don't understand, and I think that's kind of the fascination. There could be two roads on that when it comes to. I read a lot of true crime and watch about the shit all the time, and you kind of have two different angles on true crime, and there are personal murders, like family stuff, whatever the hell was going on, abuse and shit like that, and they just get enough of it and they just hack everybody up and run away.
Crime of passion. Yeah,
and the just the overall lack of any kind of like resources to break someone free from those kind of chains mentally. So, and then you have your other completely detached narcissism. Dahmer's up there. We wrote a song for the debut album called Coastal Killings, and it's about Donald Henry Gaskins, who is one of the most prolific serial killer in South Carolina.
Gaskins?
And check him out. He has a book also called The Final Truth. The book was very hard to get through. It's brutal.
What was we're going to write down, the last name was Gaskins. What was the first two?
Donald Henry, AKA Pee Wee Gaskins.
All right, yeah, we're definitely going to look that up.
How did I not know about it? But yeah, I carry on, sir. I want to know. I'm intrigued.
Well, I mean, I would just advise really read the book. I mean, there's some really horrible shit. I'll put it to you this way. I'm not a firm believer, and I don't necessarily believe in the death penalty. I don't think it really solves anything overall. It's just death and more death.
Sure.
I don't think that's really the answer. It just, maybe I'm wrong even, but that's just my opinion on it. But if you read that book, it'll make you want to believe in the goddamn death penalty. Because he is a nasty motherfucker. Man. He's, and when you read some of the shit this guy did in that book and how he like kind of enjoyed it, you'll be like, oh man.
Yeah, that in itself is like, how does the human mind get to that point, that total, what happens? Like, where is that total divide of moral anything? Because I can't, I've read some crazy stuff about some of these guys, and I just can't put myself there.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't do that. So it's crazy.
Don't get me wrong. Death metal is full of death and killing, and I get it from the standpoint of theatrics and a lot of death metal is just supposed to be fun. So
what the outside doesn't know is all us death metal guys are actually pretty fucking cool dudes.
Yeah, right.
We're pretty laid back. As long as
we definitely have our moments.
Sure.
We don't like my favorite author says, and one of the things he was talking about a band in this book, and he was like, they have the songs that they write about boy being meets girl being underneath the silvery moon, which then explodes for no adequately explored reason. So it's kind of cool to just write about different stuff. having heavy winds.
There we go.
Oh, there's
right on.
Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm over here. I'm hoping you're hearing me over here. At least I'm over here Touretting.
Oh no, you're Touretting by yourself, man. Sorry.
What the hell's wrong with
We're doing the same thing. Fucking internet. Goddamn internet.
Yeah, I was like, man, we're getting it tied back around to music and
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Mine is upstairs. I had it was a white wine. I've been into wines. I've gotten into wines the last couple of years. I'm
drinking a protein beverage, clear water protein. So
that's pretty cool.
Yep. Drinking's not really for me anymore, personally. So after I hit 40, the hangovers were just fucking.
Yep. So when you do you?
We're having a couple of. We're gonna have some dinner here shortly, and so
nice.
We're gonna have a couple glasses of wine. Probably watch a little something.
Right on. Now we'll probably be convinced. I'll probably be convinced to have at least a beverage with you at Denver Death Fest. So.
Do you use any of that for inspiration and stuff, and lyrically or anything like that when you're, reading a book like that fucked up dude, or watching a true crime, or do you draw from anything in particular, or is it just whatever kind of melody happens first, and then you associate words, and then you go from there?
I think the inspiration, overall globally is just human behavior. And the the flaws and the dark sides. And a lot of people, in my opinion, they don't actually think about their mental health very much. They don't think about it. They don't understand it. And it's very important, especially, for instance, if you have an instant that continues to happen in your life year after year after year after year. First thing you really got to do is look kind of inwards. Like, am I doing something wrong here? Is this why I keep ending up with the same bullshit over and over again? Chances are the answer is going to be yes. And it's going to be a fixable thing because you actually took the time to stop and think for a second and say, hey, why does this keep happening to me? Or why do I keep feeling this way? It would be slightly unhuman or maybe even Vulcan to sit here and get on a high horse and think, anybody, you can't tell me that you haven't thought about, you would never actually do it. Okay. But everybody's like, I'd like to kill that motherfucker. He almost killed me with his shitty driving. I just want to run him over right now and shoot rockets at him. Everybody's there. The difference is that some of us do and some of us don't. It's okay to think like that sometimes, but
I worked in retail for 25 years. I get it. I have said many a thing in my head about the public at large. So, yep.
Avoid like the plague.
Stick to the constants.
No offense to anybody watching this. You can tell a person by the way they drive. If they drive like they're the only person in existence and they have no concept of physics whatsoever, there was like a 98% chance that's a complete dickhead.
I agree.
Dude,
like in life. You know what I mean?
Dude, you're like, I don't know, you're spitting what I've been spitting too. Because I'm the same way. Like I just don't understand why people can't just be courteous, like common courtesy on and driving, and even in like, you notice how many people don't open the damn doors for anybody anymore? And if you open the door for someone, they're not going to say shit to you.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one of the that's actually one of the driving forces behind the first single we released last year, Morality and the Wasp.
Okay.
It's this inherent narcissism that's just kind of going on around us, where people they're loud and they're in line in the fucking grocery store and they're all loud as fuck on their phones. They don't give a fuck about nobody. Their damn life and their a fuck about is more important than anybody else.
Right.
Yeah, we missed a little bit of that.
Yes. I'm pretty sure you guys heard that last part.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of the basis of that song. And, we've all had to deal with people that everybody's had that person they knew for a long time, and all of a sudden they're not the same person.
I mean, it happens. It happens.
That kind of thing.
But I went through my own battle with mental health for quite some time, and then but right before the pandemic, I started getting my shit together, and then here we are now, and I feel a whole lot better. Mental health is important. But
well, definitely, man, and you're making positive things happen because you actually realized that was a thing. There's so many people out there just running around that just constantly justify their shitty behavior any way they can.
I realized that a majority of my problems that I was having in my own life were because of me, and I needed to make some changes. So I did a bunch of hard work and made some changes, and life is a lot fucking cooler now.
Yep. Hell yeah, man, that's great. And we all go through it in our own ways and figure it out,
So we'll try to tie this around back to music, since the connection doesn't seem to be the greatest here. Thank you again for playing Denver Death Fest. We're incredibly honored to have you guys on the bill.
Yes, absolutely.
Been a long time fan, not only of Narcotic Wasteland, but of course your work in Nile. So it's pretty fucking sweet to have you guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. When that came up, I was like, at first it didn't click because I got so much shit going on, man. But either way, when he told me, it's like Dallas is gonna be there. I was like, like no shit, Nile, like fuck man.
The second that Zach said, hey, what about Narcotic Wasteland? I immediately said yes. Narcotic Wasteland, book them. I don't care. So
whatever that man wants.
I appreciate that, man. Hell yeah.
Definitely stoked to have you.
I'm going down a little bit. I'm actually going a little bit earlier, and I'm going because I've never been to the Ute Mountains, where the Pueblo Indians had their village built into the side of the mountain. I want to go there, and I'm going to go there. The Thrallers will be there too. I'll live stream or something from there. But you're flying in right the day before, right? Before you guys play in Dallas.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there a couple of days before and do a little bit of rehearsal.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. Any spots you're going to check out while you're there, while you got a few days? Or you just going to chill with the dudes?
Probably just chill with the dudes. There's this taco place that Joe likes to go to, so we'll probably, jam out and have some tacos.
Yeah, you'll have to send me the address because I'll definitely smash on some tacos. I was thinking about that the other day when I was like, I could go to Coronado Tacos and just get a couple Bajas with you can't go wrong with that. And like everywhere I go, it's like usually tacos is kind of a go-to, or kind of wherever I'm at. Do you do that? Like if you're in an area, do you kind of like when you're checking out food? Do you gravitate toward like the local cuisine or like what's the best Thai food, or what's the best, you're in London, what's the best London breakfast? Do you do that, or do you tend to stick to the mainstream safe?
I like to check out different stuff. There was one tour where we were doing a lot of stuff in the Southeast, and I was kind of on a search for the best shrimp and grits. And what I ended up finding out is they're all killers, a lot of killer places that serve that, but they all have a different way that they prepare it. And so that's always really interesting.
I'm a
so
fan
I
of
like
grits.
to check out different stuff in different places. I mean, you said like best fish and shit ever.
Oh man,
cool!
And I love fish and chips and the internet. What was the best fish and chips?
Definitely right there in the streets of London, man.
Oh yeah. That's all I ate when I was over there. Fish and chips from everywhere. There was I would have to look it up. I tagged all these places, we were at, but we stayed close to Notting Hill and Paddington, like closer to Notting Hill. And it was awesome. We loved it there. London was awesome. But yeah, fish and chips for dinner, and it was like a proper London breakfast for breakfast, which was beans. And my wife didn't enjoy that too much. Starting the day off with a plate of beans and sausage and stuff. But like you said, every place had their take on it, and a lot of them curiously enough, did not include the beans. So
Bummer.
that's cool that you experiment out, because I've talked to some cats that are like, oh, we just kind of stick to the McDonald's run of the mill stuff. Like, man, you gotta explore your palate. Like, get out there, man, explore it. I ain't never had it. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, I guess the safe space in that regard would just be like, we don't really have time. Let's just hit up a Starbucks or something. Their food is consistent, it's safe, and the coffee's decent, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's honestly that's where I'm at with Starbucks too. Their coffee it's consistent, and I know what I'm gonna get. So to me, when I'm out,
you get all sorts of crazy shit in yours.
I get one crazy. I get one drink. So you go to Starbucks. What's your jam? What's like your go-to? Is that internet?
Motherfucking internet.
Oh. Yeah, it's still choppy for some reason, man. But I usually just get a straight up iced coffee with nothing.
Oh, old school. Yeah. When I try a place out, I get a double shot of espresso. And then if I like that, then I'll, kind of get whatever they got going. But usually when I'm out on vacation, it's double shots of espresso, just shotgun to the face. I got shit to do kind of thing. But mine, it's a really prima donna order. I'm not going to repeat it on the internet.
Oh,
but yeah, I get you. Sometimes it's good to go to those safe spots if you're away, because you're spending like $6-7 on coffee. You don't want it to suck, because I've had that. It's like, oh, awful. What's some of the worst food you've encountered, like that that's memorable, that stands out? Because you've been a lot of fucking places, so that's got to be pretty bad if it stands out.
Some of the worst what? Sorry, say that again.
The worst kind of food you've had, or like experiences on the road maybe you've had with food, like you checked the place out and like everybody got sick or some shit.
There was an incident one time years ago with Domino's Pizza. At least I thought it was Domino's Pizza, but what it ended up being was just a bad stomach virus that got a lot of people sick on the tour. And it was one of the kind of things where you were vomiting and you had diarrhea, and we actually had to miss a show.
No.
Yeah, we did miss one show, and everybody was pretty bad, but it subsided and everybody was fine, but it was miserable. I remember running off the stage after the show and immediately going to the bathroom, not being able to eat anything, was just trying to hold down Gatorade, and half the time I couldn't even hold that down. It was rough. Probably in the top 5 worst I've ever felt in my life.
Man, that's got to suck being on the road too. How like, so even let's say pre-COVID, because now it's a little different, but pre all that, when like a band member or a band got sick on a tour, like, did you guys kind of like, okay, willingly separate each other, or like whoever gets it, fuck it, whatever?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to stay separate enough for it to really make any difference. You either are going to be on a bus or you're going to be in a van.
True. Yeah, there's really not much you can do about it when you're that close to everybody. What would you like to plug, man? Is there anything you got going on that you really want to get out there, or?
Not really, other than the fact that, we definitely are going to be putting an album out this year. And and another single is on the way also. Just got to finish mixing it, really, which should be
nice.
We should be getting back into that this week. So
nice.
The plan is to maybe have it out by then or around that time. We'll see what happens. You know how life is, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Where are you guys doing the mixing and stuff at?
I'm just working with Eric Schultek again, and we've just been bouncing mixes back and forth. He's been doing it at his home studio. He's got a pretty killer setup. So, and I've got a set of near field monitors that I feel really comfortable with. I've been using for many years now, and I kind of know what they sound like, and they're easy on the ears, so you can, you don't get a lot of ear fatigue listening to them.
the mastering, you guys mix it, and then where is the mastering sent to, or do you have a certain place in mind for that at this point?
Well, I've worked with Alan Duche. I've worked with Mayor Applebaum, but we've just been handling it on our own on these past few singles.
Nice.
And
They sound
Yeah, they
good.
sound awesome.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Yeah.
yeah, they sound really killer. Now, vocally, when you like record vocals, how do you approach that? Do you necessarily like consciously say, okay, these parts I want to kind of overlap and back up into what, like, certain words or phrases with the backup vocal, or do you, I don't know, do you play to the rhythm of the guitar or the melody of that, or the drums or bass, or how do you approach writing vocals into a riff, or do you write the riff to the vocal?
It can go either way. Sometimes you've got the riff first. Sometimes you've got a line or a verse or something like that that comes into your mind first. Typically, I like for it to sound not like I'm playing and singing at the same time. I want it to sound like two separate things. Now, later on, when I have to actually do that at the same time, that can be
Sure,
a challenge. But basically, I try to just find the most expressive possible way to say the words, whatever they are, and of course, have some rhythm with the song and sound like it belongs in the song. But I just find that really works the best, to have, like, sort of just an emotional sort of thing to the voice, instead of just saying something like, introspective nightmares, for instance. Instead of just saying introspective nightmares, you're like, introspective. You gotta really get the expression and the emotion in there. So I think that's really what I concentrate on most.
Now, do you ever, in the instance of playing it, having to play it live and sing it live, do you ever kick yourself? Like, why the fuck did I write this? Like, why did I write this vocal part? It's really tough to play and sing at the same time.
Oh yeah, just about every time, with the exception of some of the slower stuff, like one of the singles we put out, "Best Times Have Passed." That ended up being a little trickier than I thought it was going to be, because you just never know how that's going to go.
Maybe?
But,
by the end of the tour with Accept, I really had it dialed into what I felt was really, really close to the way it is on the album. And it ends up becoming a singular expression, like the guitar and the vocals. It just, once you get it kind of dialed in, it's kind of like learning anything, like learning a new drum lick or learning a new guitar thing. There's going to be that struggle between the brain and the hands at first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Through trial and error and repetition, you finally grow some new connections, I guess, in the brain. Makes it a little easier.
Exactly That's exactly it. So when you do your vocal, like, patterns or lines, do you come up with like a pattern, or like, I want to hum it like and then fit words in with the kind of the syllables that you're hitting with the humming, or do you kind of see words right away?
I kind of see them right away, and then I'll read down the page while I'm listening to the part of the song that particular section is going to go, and I just kind of figure it out, and figure out what's going to sound, what's going to be the most effective, what's going to be the most powerful and emotional and everything, and
roll off the tongue well, and just that just sound well. Some words just don't sound well together, then you tend to avoid those. Yeah, I find it interesting in writing vocals how that process works, because it seems like everyone's different, whether they're pulling from rhythms or patterns and then fitting words in with those syllable hits, or whether they journal a lot and write a lot and then say, okay, I can hear this, and now, I know this passage in this thing I wrote. I got it right here, and then they go to this paragraph, and then they sing it right with the thing. It's like, how the hell did you draw that? This thing you wrote 3 years ago.
Yeah, and
So-
all of those methods work, and if someone does it long enough, they're probably going to end up using all those methods. There's no real right way to do it, and there's not really a wrong way to do it. It's just whatever happens in that particular moment, even down to just the section of a song versus even an entire album. You know what I mean? Like finding all those little spots and just getting the most out of it that you can. You know what I mean? It could be just sliding one syllable over a little bit and it hits on a certain spot of the riff or the beat that gives it that. Oh yeah, that's it's
the extra.
Yeah, that's got charisma or whatever, zazz.
Yeah. Yep, it's just like adding a little swing to your drums or something, with vocals, fitting it in on the half beats and the quarter beats and wherever, in between stuff a little bit. I love vocals that do that. Why I'm drawing a blank. Meshuggah's why can I think
Meshuggah's what?
Vocalist, damn it.
Oh,
brain fart, either way, but he does that a lot where, they work in that weird time signature and his patterns overlap their change in their riffs, and the way he does it is, I think, really unique.
Oh yeah, those guys are nuts. And that's a good example of like really, dissecting and getting the rhythms and all that stuff just right. And then on the other side of things, I do a little bit of both. I have some rhythmic stuff, but then also when I worked with producer Neil Kernan, he would always call it the man on the podium. Which not necessarily like a super rhythmic thing, but it's just a very expressive thing. You're standing there, kind of dictating or something. What it sounds like, both of those are very effective, especially in metal.
Yeah, spoken word stuff is definitely effective. You really don't need to be a good vocalist in the sense of a singer, but if you have a good story and good cadence and good delivery and good enunciation and expression in your words that you're saying, you can do anything pretty much.
Yep. At the end of the day, that's really what it's about, connecting with the listener and it's all entertainment, man. And, people, it's a very subjective thing. There's bands out there that I know that I'll never like. And there's bands out there that I know I will always love and no one else likes.
Sure. Yep. So who's one of your favorite bands to tour with? You've been doing this for a long time. Is there anybody that when you get out there on the road and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, we're touring with blah.
I tell you, for the most part, I'd say like 95% of the other bands and artists that I've toured with has been just an absolute joy to be around.
That's great.
There's the other 5% that we won't talk about, but for the most part, we're all out there for the same reason. We want to, play some metal and, have a great show and play our asses off and all that stuff. Sure. There's a lot of guys over the years, like, the guys in Cannibal Corpse, my Nile days, we toured with those guys a couple of times and, they were always just super cool dudes.
Yeah, they seem
like
complete gentlemen, just really nice and laid back and very much there to do the thing and not there to live some crazy lavish lifestyle or something like that. They're there to play music. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, and get a couple burgers and jam.
Yeah, then most of the artists out there are like that. That's what they're into. So it would be really hard to narrow it down to a single band because of that. They're one of the shining examples, of course, because everybody that's ever talked or met those guys, they're super cool guys. All of them are. So yeah, and I got to see them last year, and it was Cannibal Corpse, Dark Funeral, Immolation, and some other band I'd never heard of before, but they were good too. And it was cool to kind of chat with all those guys for a minute and catch back up. Hadn't seen them in a
Sure.
while, and yeah,
Nick
so
got to go to that tour. I did not get to go. But
yeah.
me and the
Nick went.
immolation guys, a couple of immolation guys, hung out for a little while and got on a big true crime rant.
That I believe.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, dude, and I really apologize for whatever's going on with the internet.
Yeah,
You're all right. I just appreciate your time,
mhm,
you know?
for sure.
and sticking with us through this. You know, this is day 2 of this attempt. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
seems to
And,
be working
yeah.
right here at the end.
Yeah, no shit, right?
That's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm serious about the tacos, man. I'd be down. I'd love to buy you a beer or wine. It's wine, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
wine
I
beer.
like drinking beers too.
Yeah,
There's probably a
For
whole
sure, man.
lot. It's probably not a whole lot I don't like drinking.
yeah.
Even
I'm
this
past
day and age.
Jaeger now at this point. For a long time, I've been past Jaeger.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
I'll have a couple
stay
beers.
away from
I'm-
Jaeger and now
Yep.
due to recent developments, also tequila.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It just
yeah,
don't
tequila.
go
Oh,
the
yeah?
way it used to, man.
care
really.
to indulge?
Well,
What your recent tequila event was?
well, I was sitting there having a couple shots of tequila, sitting there at the bar hanging out, and I went to go up outside to talk to a friend of mine, and well, I fell and had to get driven home and all that shit, and I was just like, you know what, I'm getting too old for this.
Sure.
So no more
I've been
tequila
there.
for Dallas, and no more Jägermeister, because Jägermeister is like fire water.
Yeah, the incident with like injuring yourself or whatever was the Jaeger. I ended up putting my head through a window, my dude's window, and blacking out. And I was like, this is not for me. This was years and years and years ago. And then, yeah, I've seen me and Tequila had a very good relationship that was bad, and I realized and had to nip that in the ass before it got to be a problem, which it wasn't. I couldn't sleep, and I worked 2 jobs. I worked for like a photo thing, and then I worked for adults with MR. When I came home, I couldn't sleep, and that's what I did. Tequila, Jose Cuervo down the hatch, and then after like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months of that, I'm like, this isn't healthy, man. This isn't healthy. So I was like, no more tequila.
Yeah, totally.
I do
And
miss
then
it
you give
sometimes.
yourself like a 2 or 3 day break, and all of a sudden everything is just burning brighter, and you got more energy and shit. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah. This is what it's like. Yeah.
Being up there in Michigan, you got a favorite brewery up there?
There's a little tap room that we like to go to called Shady's, and they have like a pretty extensive IPA menu, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
They also
You
have
had
some of
IPAs
the
then?
best pizza around, and they also have a olive burger, which I just find incredible.
My wife would be into that.
Yeah, they also have a Reuben dip, which is insanely good too.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that sounds super good.
You know, and they got Keno and trivia up on the screens, and they got karaoke. It's one of them kind of places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get down on some karaoke. We just did that for my birthday. All the guys came out.
Hell yeah.
We did karaoke. Yeah, I sang a Backstreet Boys song for my wife. So.
Yes, you did. There may or may not be video evidence.
And you know what? That song made me a very happy man at the end of the night. So
Well, there you go.
There it is.
Backstreet's back, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you do karaoke?
No, I've never done it. Except
Really?
I was going to do it once.
Man, you gotta
South
do
Carolina, there's a bar called Ground Zero, and they're like a metal bar, and they're a lot of national acts travel through there, and they were doing death metal karaoke nights on Tuesday.
that. That is
And
awesome.
I was actually going to go in there and sing a Sanctuary song off of the last album they put out, The Year the Sun Died, and I blew my voice out on the way there.
Oh,
But yeah, I was gonna fucking lay down some highs, man.
Man.
And I was was sounding good, but by the time I got there, I sounded like I had just went down on a thorn bush, so it didn't work out.
That sucks. What's your remedy for that? Like when your voice goes to shit, do you have like a tea honey mix or like a spray that you use?
The spray didn't really work for me. I've tried that. The honey will get you by. The best thing to really do is to just stay hydrated. And after you get through the show, just keep your mouth shut. Don't be talking, all that stuff. Just let it rest. And then, sleep is always the best thing. There's a type of onion, I believe, that has like enzymes or something that'll help with the throat too. But usually, if I can get a couple of days of rehearsal in before whatever it is we got to do, like I'll go ahead and pretty much trash my voice the first night of rehearsal. And then the next day, I won't sing everything. I'll just sing a little bit here and there just to keep the juices flowing and just mostly concentrate on the guitar side of things. Just kind of ease myself into it. You know what I mean? And
that's smart.
Yeah, you just kind of ease into it. And because, I used to have probably a much better actually singing voice, but, after 30 plus years of, screaming at people, it's definitely taken its toll. But the good news is that still sounds good. If I try to actually sing something, you're going to be like, "Oh, please stop." It won't happen anymore.
It is even just maintaining 30 plus years of that vocal fray style is really hard to do and keep it. There's been a lot of singers that just blow their shit out because they're just not doing it properly. And the fact that you've maintained that shows that you know what the fuck you're talking about and you know how to sing. Everybody knows that. So yeah, it's awesome you're taking care of your shit, man, because I want you to keep making shit for me to listen to.
Yeah, man. If I ever saw any red flags of anything, I don't really smoke cigarettes anymore. I still hit the vape. That's made just switching over from analog to digital in that regard made a huge difference.
I do it myself. So
yeah, those things are awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, eventually my problem is every time I try to get off the nicotine, like half the people in my life are begging me, please fucking smoke a cigarette, Dallas, please, you're driving me crazy. But I'm gonna give it another shot. I think the longest I've ever gone without nicotine since the inception of it in my life is probably about 6 months.
I made it a year, and then I made the mistake of going out to the bar with some buddies, and I was like, oh fuck it, just give me a cigarette, it won't be a big deal. And 2 days later, pack of cigarettes. So
and it goes down the spiral.
That's how I used to be with the weed. I'd be like, not really a avid smoker. I've always been a little bit more on the drinker side of things. But if I've got the right mixture that night, I'll be like, fuck, give me that thing. Yeah,
we've always been on the other, like leaning on the other side of that spectrum.
We throws the metal pulls no punches. We always lean closer to the weed side than we do the drinks. But
yeah, it's better for you.
Yes,
it's pretty cool, man. I mean, right here, there's like I could throw a rock and hit a dispensary.
Yeah, it's crazy how many dispensaries are in Michigan. Nick and I go up to the Sanctuary in Hamtramck all the time for shows, all the time.
Every billboard.
And on the way up there, there's probably 150 dispensaries on the way up there. It's fucking nuts.
Every billboard in Michigan.
Just about,
yeah.
That's what I noticed. As soon as those things stopped popping up, it was like, oh, there's the TA billboards gone now. We don't need you anymore, loves.
Now we have the House of Dank.
We have House of Dank.
Yeah, House of Dank. Yeah.
No, but it's awesome because it brings in, well, hopefully it's bringing a lot of tax revenue that they're using for good. It seems like they're doing it because there's a lot of construction. There always is.
But they need to fix the roads. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Being in Michigan, you know how bad it sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Especially up 75. That is the worst god-awful stretch of road ever.
And that's not even the worst, I don't think. I think that 94 corridor up there the 96 up there at the
By the airport?
business loops. Yeah,
Yeah.
some of those off ramps there. Eureka Road is really bad. Yeah, it's some of that shit up there. And then yeah,
Dude, there was a pothole.
Hopefully they're spending
Getting
it
off
for
on
the-
Eureka Road by the airport there was a fucking pothole that I swear to God was the size of my car.
Dude, there's fucking potholes like that.
Like a fucking meteor crater and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They're sticking to that concrete though, man. Michigan loves that concrete. They're not doing asphalt. They won't go to it.
Yeah, they are doing a lot of construction, and that's good. It's kind of about as bad in South Carolina, man. The roads there are terrible.
Oh, really?
And it's like-
That's one of the states I haven't been to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. But yeah, they definitely need some road work.
Damn.
Yeah, the interstates aren't so bad. It's really just all the little rural routes and through suburbia and all that stuff. It's all got potholes, and sometimes there'll be like a big flood or something happens, like washes out like half the road and shit like that. So
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that shit up here too much.
yeah,
Like really at all. Thankfully.
Well, now, are you living in Michigan? I saw the Carolinas was your home. Are you living up there? Or are you guys just jamming up there?
well, I'm just kind of right now. I'm in a transition. I'm most likely going to be moving up here full time, but I still have residence in South Carolina.
Gotcha.
Just kind of figuring all that out and trying to get some shows and stuff done and get the rest of the album finished up. All the stuff is there. It just needs to be mixed or recorded or re-recorded. So that'll be.
You guys should book a show at the Sanctuary. We're there all the time.
Hell yeah, I'm sure we'll be swinging through there at some point, man.
We definitely want to get together. Anyway.
Yeah.
Once we get to Denver, it's going to be a big like hangout.
This is
chill party.
our first time ever doing something like this, so we wanted to get our toes wet and see what booking music and bands was all about, and we just kind of got the Denver thing thrown into our laps and said, "Fuck it, let's try it out." So
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yep, and I'm there to police, basically make sure everyone has a fucking good time.
Yep,
that's my job.
Hell yeah. I'll be
I'll
be a law enforcement agency on that as well.
Sweet, yeah. So everyone going to Denver, me and Dallas, we got your ass. You're out of line. But yeah, if you want to check out and stay tuned, because we're going to do coverage from Denver, and I'm going to be covering my little journey, chiming in here. But hit the subscribe, hit the notifications, all that jazz down there. Denver Death Fest is going to happen April 20th, April 21st, April 22nd in Denver, Colorado. And man, we can't wait.
I'm very excited.
Me too,
Super
man.
excited.
Yep. Dallas, thank you so much for your time. We genuinely appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing Narcotic Wasteland and getting together and having a beer.
Sounds great,
talking
man.
about true crime and aliens and shit, whatever.
Yep.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
Again, thank you, brother.
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
All right,
Yeah, you too,
see
man.
ya.
Be well.